Good afternoon, everybody. I'm By-Tor, your host, and this is the By-Tor Show. Wow, wow, wow. For those of you who are coming from the FIFA World Cup game, that is probably the best soccer game I've ever seen. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it yet. Maybe I should, because everyone in the world should have been watching it. But go watch it if you haven't. That was a crazy game. Okay. So, I just clicked off the stream for the World Cup. Got to cool myself down. That was a pretty intense and stressful matchup and stream. Let's talk about hockey and SHL stuff. So, as always, not too much to talk about. The regular season did just end in the SHL and the SMJHL. So we have some new record holders for personal stats. We have some new records, I believe, for team stats as well. And got some interesting playoff matchups. So let's starting off, as always, I want to do some card opening since I wait 1 week every week to open all these packs that I buy. So I got 18 packs today. Looking forward to see what kind of people we can open up here. Okay, Ruby. I'll tell you what, oh, awesome. Poopity Scoop, Bojo Biscuit Trophy, award card. Nice. That World Cup, man, I still can't get over that. Every person in sports, knows the feeling. Either you don't get to that level or, you get to that level, your team wins, your team loses in the final. I feel bad for the people who lose, but it has to be sweet, sweet, sweet for the team that wins. I personally have never. I take that back. I have supported one team that has won a championship, and that was Ohio State football in 2014. Other than that, my Canes haven't won anything. Well, I became a Canes fan when I was younger, but after their 2006 win, just after. So I didn't get to experience that as a diehard fan. Ohio State did win in 2014. Hopefully they can win again this year. Let's see, what other sports? I don't really follow any of the other sports too much. I follow NFL, but I'm not really a diehard team of anyone. So must be an absolutely amazing feeling to be the champions. And not only, Ohio State is the champion of college football back in 2014, one level in one country, whereas the people who just won the World Cup are world champions for their country. And I think it's a completely different animal playing for a team versus playing for your country. There's more, gravitas behind it, more oomph, you're representing people, not just, a team or a fan base. So kind of stale on the cards right now. Nothing too great. Okay. And, talking about playing for your country, diamond, nice. In our fake made-up league of the SHL, work hard, nice. We get to play for our countries or made-up countries or countries of designation if you want to play for a certain country, and there is a different sort of feeling to that versus playing for the team and playing for the Challenge Cup. Even though I am World Junior Championship commissioner, I think there's great honor and fun times to be had playing for your country in the SHL and our community sphere. But I would probably say it's almost more prestigious to win the Challenge Cup in the SHL, just because there are 20 teams, as opposed to I think there's like 12 federations. It's a little different from IIHF to so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, I guess 14. So similar, but you got the same sort of teams and makeup each year, so it's just interesting to compare. I do want to look at the playoff matchups. Well, let's look at the final standings real quick. So my Aurora, let's heave a collective sigh for my Winnipeg Aurora. We were just squashing the standings board all year long, all season long. And then I don't know what happened in the last 8 games, but we fell flat and didn't even capture the President's Trophy. Seattle came up right from behind and took it by 1 point. It's a little unfortunate. I will say Seattle can have the President's Trophy. We'll take the cup. But, even on goals against for the league lowest goals against per team, and Winnipeg being one of 4 teams above 300 goals scored on the season. Let's see if they have they do. Okay, awesome. Playoff matchups. Let's start in the East. Montreal, Buffalo. Close matchup. I think I see Buffalo taking this one. If we look at the regular season, Buffalo finished 5, Montreal finished 8. That's a tough matchup for Montreal to pull in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, Montreal, top half of the league, only 5 points behind Buffalo, and yet they match up with, a great team. Buffalo sitting at 100 goals plus, Montreal at 58. Very similar teams. I think Buffalo has a little more firepower than Montreal does, but really it could go either way. Montreal with 5 players above point per game. Not too much. I mean, that's decent right here. And Hagen, good. Not so much defensive contribution on the offensive side other than Hagen for Montreal. Oops, let me go back to that. They do drive play, so average maybe somewhere around 54 Corsi, which is good. So, I mean, a good, solid team. Brick wall is a brick wall. I mean, it's going to be tough to beat Montreal. But like I said, first round matchup with Buffalo is rough. So Buffalo has a lot more high top end scoring, whereas Montreal, I think their top score had 80-some points, I believe. I mean, Montreal's top scorer has 80-some points, I think. Buffalo's top scorer over 100, some in the 90s. We said that Montreal had 5 players above point per game. Buffalo has 6. Their defense, 2 top-end defensemen. Dangle probably getting some nods for Defenseman of the Year. Yeah, I mean, total complete team. Corsi's good, a little better than Montreal. I mean, that's going to be a really tough, close matchup. I think I take Buffalo in 7. I think that's my prediction. Buffalo in 7. But it could go either way. That's a rough matchup. Toronto, New England. I mean, how do you bet against Toronto right now? They score on anything they touch. I mean, I don't want to count New England out, but looking at the final standings for the regular season, they were 12th at just about a 500 team. Toronto is one of the best teams in the league this year. If their goaltending can lock it down in the playoffs, I mean, they could go all the way. I mean, top end scoring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players above point per game, which is, great. Great Corsi, drive possession. New England, they did have. So here's the thing: their X factor is Tater Yeager. New England's. If Tater Yeager can score at an amazing clip in this first round, they might make it interesting. But I mean, they just don't have the scoring depth that Toronto does. I mean, Olaf Korsico could steal a game or two, I think, but I don't know if it happens for New England against a tough opponent in Toronto. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I take Toronto, and I think I take Toronto in 5. I want to say 5 or 6. I think I'm going to go 5. I'm going Toronto in 5, Buffalo in 7. Okay, next matchup. Philadelphia, Manhattan. Again, another close first-round matchup. I mean, they're only separated by a few points. Philadelphia, the higher seed. Philadelphia, a little better defense and offense, but really about the same offense. Philadelphia, good middle scoring, all around a point per game right here. Probably the best defenseman in the league. I was hoping I could get a nod for defenseman in the league of my own player this year, but Luke Bluin, I really don't see how he doesn't win, best defenseman this year. Maybe not best defensive defenseman, but we all know that best defenseman award is a most points sort of thing. And with 71 points in 66 games, I don't see how Bluin doesn't get best defenseman in the league this year. But, I mean, if he can continue his play in the playoffs, Philadelphia, I mean, they drive possession again. They have great scoring. In goal, base pack. I mean, if they can just play average, hold down the fort, I think their offense can do it. Manhattan, again, top end skill. Lebedev. Max Manning led the league in scoring, but that's pretty close to the top, I believe. Maybe top 3 in the league. I know it's top 3 in goals, I think, or top 5, somewhere in there. But again, decent middle scoring here. Doesn't have the top end talent that Philadelphia has in terms of numbers. And they don't have that. Well, they don't have Luke Bluin. They do have Sean Gates, and Gates had a great season. Svechnikov had a great season too. Not quite on the 71-point level of Bluin, but good, solid seasons. I mean, they're good too. What can I say? I mean, if their goalies can, steal one, they didn't have the best season. I mean, they get the wins, but the goals against isn't great. Save percentage isn't great. I think Philadelphia has the edge in this matchup, if just barely. I think Philadelphia takes it in 6 on the back of Luke Bluin and those Philadelphia scorers. So let's see, recap, just so I don't forget. Buffalo in 7, Toronto in 5, Philadelphia in 6. Let's see, Atlanta, Baltimore. Number 3 versus 14. Baltimore is basically in rebuild mode. 45 points. I don't see how Atlanta doesn't win this matchup. They have over double the points that Baltimore does. Not a good goal differential. Great goal differential. Let's look at it. Atlanta, not the top end talent. Only 3 point per game people or players. Good defenseman. And then Petrov. I think Atlanta is driven by their defense and goaltending. And then when you look at Baltimore, they just can't score, really. One person, Lord Raiden, with a point per game pace. And while they could surprise for one game or so, I just don't see it happening. Their goaltending isn't there. And Atlanta has the firepower. I think Atlanta sweeps this one, but I wouldn't put it past the realm of possibility for FHM just to come in and give Baltimore a game. But I'm going to say 4 games. So that gives me a 4-game, 5-game, 6-game, and 7-game series for Atlanta, 6 Philadelphia, 5 Toronto, and 7 Buffalo. And then if we look at Buffalo and Toronto in round 2, let's get a East champion, and then we'll go over to the West. If we look at Buffalo, Toronto in round 2, number 4 and number 5, almost equivalent in points, almost equivalent in goal differential. Buffalo a little better defense, Toronto a little bit better offense. We looked at these teams. It's going to be a crazy matchup. Goals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players over 30 goals. And their goaltending is not superb. So keep that in mind. Buffalo, 1, 2, 3, 4 players above 30 goals, but 3 almost at 50. So Buffalo, their scoring goes through basically 3 or 4 players. Toronto can spread the puck out a little more. But Buffalo's defense is better, and their goaltending is better, if not just slightly. I don't know. How's the TPE look? 15, 16. Toronto. I don't know, pretty even. That's a tough one. That is definitely going 7 games, I think, unless something crazy happens. Toronto, Buffalo. I think I have to take Battle of the Similar Logos. I think I have to take Toronto in 7. I think I got to put Toronto here in 7 games. I don't know. Again, it could go either way. Yeah, I'm going to say Toronto's high-powered scoring overpowers the Buffalo defense. I just don't think Buffalo is going to have the answer if some of their top people get shut down or just find an unlucky streak. I think Toronto takes it in 7. Next up, Philadelphia, Atlanta. Atlanta 3 seed or 3rd overall. Philadelphia 7th, separated by 14 points. Somewhat close goal differential. Atlanta is higher. Atlanta has the much superior defense. but Philadelphia does have a slight edge in scoring. I believe Philadelphia is a much younger team. I know, so 60, I think 61, 59 maybe. Well, either way, top end scoring for Philadelphia. Okay, goaltending could be better. Oops, sorry. I know I'm clicking around a lot here. I just let's see. It's Philadelphia versus Atlanta. Atlanta just, I mean, Petrov can shut games down. I mean, great goals against, especially, I mean, even their backup is amazing this year. Again, not the scoring depth that Philadelphia has, so that concerns me. I know I took Toronto because I think they can overpower Buffalo's defense. I don't know if that happens in the series, though. I think Atlanta might take it. Again, a very close series, but I'm looking at O'Duck, McFife in the back end in that high-end scoring versus, Luke Bluen and Hans Graf. Well, I don't know. I don't know on this one. Oh, man. I think it could go really either way. Let's see. I'm seeing a lot of hits for Philadelphia and not many blocks. Then you look at Atlanta. A lot of hits. A lot more blocks than Philadelphia. That's a tough one. Who won last year? Let's see. Atlanta got, okay, so none of these teams met last year. Buffalo did beat Toronto. Okay, that doesn't really hold too much weight. Okay, so I have Buffalo and Toronto, with Toronto advancing. Atlanta and Philadelphia. Atlanta in 7. So Toronto in 7, Atlanta in 7. So Toronto, Atlanta. And again, defense versus offense. Toronto. My thing loads here. Toronto, I mean, has the scoring. I don't know. How's the come on. Load. Oh, I'm on playoffs. Duh. Okay. Decent defenseman scoring. See how they matched up this year. Atlanta won in overtime. Toronto won. Atlanta won. Toronto won. Whew, close series, 2-2. Let's see recently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Atlanta's on a 9-game win streak. And Toronto is not doing so hot to finish out the season. It can really go either way. I mean, I've said this the whole time, but I think just for my own entertainment, I take Toronto in the final over Atlanta, 7 games again. all these later round matchups, they're so close. I think they're going 7 games. Maybe a team can surprise somebody and go 6, but I don't think you're going to see any sweeps or 5-game series. So Toronto in the finals for the East. I got to take my Aurora, Winnipeg, Texas. Winnipeg, second overall, Texas rebuilding team, very bad goal differential. I don't really think it's a contest. Nobody at point per game. They made the playoffs, and I think that's a victory for them if they weren't trying to tank all the way down and get a top draft pick. Nobody over, oh my gosh, nobody over 45 Corsi. So the other team has the puck all the time versus Winnipeg, where their Corsi is, 56. Top end scoring, a lot of middle scoring, okay defense, offensive production, ton of blocks for defense. Yeah, Winnipeg takes this. If not 4, maybe 5. I'm gonna go 5, just not to jinx anything. And I know Winnipeg, we've been kind of struggling the past few games, so I'm taking Winnipeg in 5. But in my heart, thinking 4. So Winnipeg. Chicago NOLA. That Central Division matchup. Chicago 6, NOLA 11. NOLA underperformed this year, I think. They just couldn't score. Good defense, about the exact same as Chicago, 199 versus 197. It's just Chicago scored 101 more goals than they did. And I think that does end up being the difference in the playoffs. 5 point per game players, not the greatest offensive support and defense, but okay. Chicago is kind of reborn. They had an off year. Amazing Corsi, 58, 59. Drive possession versus New Orleans, right at 50. So they're not going to drive possession as much as Chicago. Only one player with a point per game. Same defensive point numbers again, chipping into the rush. Maybe St. Arc and Bjornsson can steal one, but I just don't see NOLA standing up to Chicago over 7 games. I think Chicago takes this in 6. So Winnipeg, Chicago. Edmonton, Calgary. Oof. Talk about, so this is unfortunate. You look at the matchup of Buffalo, Montreal, 5 versus 8. And then you got Calgary versus Edmonton, 10 versus 13. Calgary does have 17 points more than Edmonton, above 500, below 500. But, you almost wish if you're Buffalo, you can match up against Edmonton or something like that. I know different conferences, whatever. But, yeah, that it's just kind of crazy. Calgary, let's look. 3 players, top end players, over point per game. Makla blocking shots left and right and good points. Possibly one of the best defensemen in the league this year. Probably gets a nomination again with Bluin. Does not drive play, Calgary. So all players under 50 Corsi. So they let the other team shoot more than they do. So they don't have as much possession. Although they do put the puck in the net when they need to. Everyone over 100 PDO. So it's very much a score at opportune moments team. And they do have Chamberlain, although aging, still okay this year. So they could surprise some people, I think, in the first round. But they do go up against Edmonton, one player over a point per game, which I think might be no, not a rookie. Younger player, though, I think. Maybe his class is 62, 61. Yeah, they just don't have the scoring. I mean, it's just not there. And they don't block the shots. Okay defense, or okay, okay goaltending in just in time. But again, less than 50 Corsi, although slightly better than Calgary, the team that's ranked above them, although they don't put the puck in the net as opportunely as Calgary does. So I think this is a closer matchup than people think. I think Calgary kind of underperformed this year and Edmonton overperformed. But first round of the playoffs, I mean, let's take a look at recent schedules. Calgary finishing this year with a loss to Edmonton. Wow. So if that's any indication, this series could be very interesting in this first round. Calgary not doing so hot. I mean, they haven't won in 4 games, and that was barely against New England. Loss. So, yeah, they're coming into in their last 6, 1, 3, and 2. So, with a loss against the person they're going up against, or the team they're going up against. I don't want to say Edmonton surprises people and steals this matchup, but it might happen. This is the matchup here to be the upset if it happens. I think Edmonton could do it. I think, you know what? I'm going to stick with it. I think Edmonton does it. I think Edmonton beats Calgary in 7 to upset the Dragons. Seattle, LAP. I mean, again, powerhouse versus rebuilding team. LAP minus 87 goal differential, 0.288. I mean, come on. Versus the President's Trophy winning team. Seattle takes this easily. I say 4 games. 2 players over 100 points. Good middle scoring. I mean, yeah, and I do know their Corsi is outstanding, over 60 average. Versus, let's see this LAP. Yeah, I mean, okay top scoring. 3 players with good points per game, but then it drops off after that. Goaltending is not good this year, and they do not drive possession. I think Seattle takes this in 4. So Winnipeg, Chicago, Edmonton, Seattle. I think let's start with the easy one. Edmonton, Seattle. I think Seattle takes it. I think Edmonton surprises Calgary, but they don't get past Seattle. Seattle takes it in 4 again. I think Seattle's going to sweep. I think they're going to win 8 in a row to get to the 3rd round. To match up against the winner of Chicago and Winnipeg, which is a matchup of 2 versus 6, which is going to be a tough matchup. I mean, Winnipeg, I think Winnipeg has the matchup. I think they are favored in every category. It's just Winnipeg has been rocky the past few games. Let's see if my thing loads here. I mean, Winnipeg has the scoring. They have the defense. Chicago has the scoring, a little less defense. Winnipeg just the bottom fell out. They lost to Chicago right at the end. So that could be interesting. Lost to Texas, lost to Atlanta, lost to New Orleans. They did beat Chicago twice a few days ago. And up here, maybe last week when the sim was run. So 4 games against Chicago, 3-1 Winnipeg in the last few games, probably in the last week, real time. I think it does go to Winnipeg, and I know I am a Winnipeg person, but I think it happens. I think it happens in 6 or 7. I think I'm going to go 6. I think things come together for Winnipeg a little more, and I think they get to this matchup, Seattle and Winnipeg, battle of the 1-2s, battle of the best team in the league right here. It's unfortunate it can't be in the final, but I mean, yeah, I don't know how that matchup is going to happen. Well, my thing isn't loading here. Seattle, Winnipeg, even in wins, even in goals against. Seattle has scored 13 more goals than Winnipeg. Seattle has 5 players over a point per game with 2 over 100. So 5 and 2. Winnipeg has no one over 100. Too close there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 4 players over point per game. So the scoring is a little less, although that does show that scoring is a little more balanced with Winnipeg. Seattle does have the better possession metrics. So that gives them the edge there. In goal, I mean, Montagne or however you say our goalie's name, Rebecca, is, I think, the best goalie in the league. I mean, they do have an amazing team in front of them, so it makes it easier for them. But, I mean, 8 shutouts, 2.38 goals against, 910 save percentage. Actually, let's look at it this way. Versus Willie Miller. And oh, man. I mean, similar goals against, not as good save percentage, and half the shutouts. But as we know, as Winnipeg knows from last year, Willie Miller is Winnipeg's kryptonite. Winnipeg has gotten Willie Millered like 2 years in a row now. And it's just crazy. So I don't know how I predict this matchup to face off against Toronto in the final. I mean, I want it to be Winnipeg for obvious reasons. I think it can definitely go either way. It probably goes 7 games. I'm going to say Winnipeg just because we do have the highest, average TPE. It's really our peak year, and I'm hoping, even though Seattle is extremely great as well, I'm just hoping for Winnipeg. So I'm going to say Winnipeg, Toronto in the final. And again, that final could go either way. I want Winnipeg to win in 7 just because, I'm a Winnipeg person. But Toronto does have the scoring, but Winnipeg has the defense. So it's like, does defense win championships or not? I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to say Winnipeg because I'm a Winnipeg person. We take home the cup finally after years and years of the rebuild and then the climb up the mountain. But third round and final for both sides could go either way. So yeah, but I'm going to say Winnipeg. And I'm going to say Rebecca Montagne, Winnipeg goalie, wins playoff MVP. Just a quick look. Man, I already 40 minutes gone here. Just a quick look at the stats for the regular season. Max Manning did take the points lead, did break the goal scoring record in one season. Tater Yeager also did break it, but unfortunately still behind Max Manning, so didn't get any recognition for that. A personal achievement record that we were following in Winnipeg was Jay O'Neill chasing the plus-minus record. The previous plus-minus was 73. He did not get there over the past few games because of that rocky end. I don't remember what all these records are that I wrote down before, but Montagny did get the most wins. Miller and Montagny for close goals against average, with Montagny having the edge in save percentage. For starters, Petrov had the best save percentage, followed by Stratton, then Montagny. Well, I don't know how many games you count as a starter versus backup, but Petrov, Montagny, and Miller as your main starters. Yeah, let's see. Zach Wilson and Adam Barron tied for the Ferguson Trophy, so congratulations to them. Let's see. Blocks, Makla again, of course, 275. Pasta the Turtle close with 266, but not quite taking it. Hitting is Patya Parabolov from NOLA, top hitter in the league this year. Let's look at faceoffs. Faceoff. Just looking at these based on someone who's taken a lot of faceoffs, probably the best faceoff person in the league is this mystery new Tater Yeager. Best faceoff taker in the league this season based on volume and percentage. You could almost say Anton Mihalov as well, but Tater Yeager, best face-off person this year with volume, 700 almost. Yeah. So with the points, with the face-offs, see how many blocks? 49 blocks. That's okay. And a good defensive. I mean, I know this doesn't mean anything. Time on ice. Tater Yeager has a good argument for Dar Trophy this season at that amount of points, that face-off percentage. Let's see what his advanced stats are. Okay, just at 100 PDO, so that's okay. 56 Corsi, which is much higher than his teammates. I don't know. I think he has a case for a Dar. Let's see how many takeaways he had, because that's another thing people look at. Well, 52 takeaways is good, higher than some of these others, but 73 giveaways is not good. So I don't know. Good argument for it, but we'll see. Defensive defenseman. I know they always look at takeaways. Let's look at defense. People do look at takeaways sometimes with points, and blocks. So if you got blocks with a bunch of takeaways, Makala has a great argument again for best defensive defenseman. Right there. Vladimir Shenko has a good conversation for best defensive defenseman, although that time on ice is that's a little wonky. And I don't, that takes down a lot of these stats for having an extra 5 minutes on the ice from all these other players per game. Connor Tanner, decent argument. I mean, you got to look at these advanced stats too for these people. I myself am up there. I more points than some of the others, but I don't think that matters as much in the defensive defenseman case. Gates. Okay. Yeah. So take it for what you will. My time is almost up here. I only got like 14 minutes left. There are matchups set here for the Junior League. St. Louis, Vancouver, which is 6 versus 11. I mean, I co-GM St. Louis. I think we can beat Vancouver, but anything can happen. I'm going to say we take it in 7. But who knows? Anchorage, QCC. Anchorage 4, QCC 13. Wow. They actually made it. I say Anchorage wins. Because QCC can't score and have okay defense. Anchorage, good defense, can't really score. Or can score enough, just not at the rate of some of these other teams. But yeah, I think Anchorage takes it in 5 or 6. So St. Louis, Anchorage, Newfoundland, Regina, 5 versus 10. I think Regina takes it. I think in the Junior League, there's these top-end teams and then these lower-end teams, and I think it's going to play out that way. So it's going to be St. Louis, Anchorage, Regina, and then Yukon, Colorado is 8 and 9. That could definitely be a toss-up. Just on a whim, I think Yukon has some higher end scoring, but then it dries up with not great goaltending. Colorado, not good scoring at all, but more evened out with not good goaltending. You're making it tough for me. Not good Corsi for Colorado. Shoot, who are we looking at? Yukon. And not great for Yukon, but better. I think Yukon takes it. Yukon takes it in 7. So Yukon, Regina, Anchorage, St. Louis, and they match up against the division winners of Carolina, Nevada, Detroit, and Maine. And honestly, at this point, it's Detroit's cup to lose. I don't know who is able to take them down. I don't know anyone can do it in a 7-game series. It would have to take some serious luck for Detroit to go down. And I'm curious to see who gets matched up against them in the first round. If it is the people that I predicted, it would be all of these top 8. So I predict that the top 8 make it, which would reseed everyone, which would have Detroit, Yukon, Maine, Carolina. I think, if my memory serves me. Maybe they seed them differently, but Nevada, St. Louis, Anchorage, Regina. I think Detroit takes it. I think Carolina takes it. Carolina's hot, hot, hot. I think Nevada Nevada is favored. I think St. Louis could surprise because they do have a high scoring clip as well with Nevada. It all comes down to St. Louis goaltending. I mean, we've not been great at stopping the puck this year. So we'll see what happens. And then in this matchup, it's a toss-up. Who knows? But yeah, I'll be interested to see how it all shakes out over time. But looking at the players, congrats to Piastri from Nevada getting the points title and the goals title. Banana and Waffles just missed out. But Detroit, look at this Detroit. I mean, yeah. The goalie race, Jeff Newman for Detroit. I mean, amazing goals against, great save percentage. I mean, top starter. Jeff Newman is the best goalie in the league this year. I don't think there's any argument for that fact. I mean, goals against, no. Jeff Newman takes it. Which, how did he do last year? Not as good. So, I wonder if it's a product of the team or the goalie himself, but I digress. Good job. What other thing? Oh, we were going to look at, I don't know if anyone even submitted questions. We're going to look at, no one submitted questions. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. What else were we going to look at? I looked at stats and records a little bit. We looked at the playoffs. We opened some cards. For anyone who is watching this now, go ahead and submit your questions for next week so I have something to talk about. This is an awesome article by Luke on money and, a bank wrapped for this year. Although, if anyone is listening to this, I take credit for this. Luke did all the work. Luke, is the best historian in the league. But, my article did stem his interest in the whole money thing and looking at it like that. So, I'll take some pay for this article too. But it is a very interesting article. The people who lost a lot of money, the people who made a lot of money. I'm hoping to be in this list this upcoming year. But yeah. So take a look at it if you haven't already. But I think that's it for the show today and this week. I don't think there is much else to discuss that we have not already talked about last week or just now. It's the last day before playoffs. Playoffs start tomorrow, which means if your team hasn't been updated yet, you better go get your updates in super pronto quick before they get claimed. I know the update team has had some struggles getting updates done quickly this year. So if you have interest in helping out in any way for the site, definitely go contact S. Burbine, one of the heads of the updating team, and they will help you out. Interestingly, Seattle, being the top team in the league this year, no longer has a GM after this season. So that'll be interesting. So if you have any interest in that job, go take that job. Please apply to be a World Junior Champion GM. I do have quite a few applications, which I appreciate from everyone who applied. But last call, if anyone wants to be a GM or help me out in any way with the World Junior Championship Tournament, please apply. Reach out to me over Discord or whatever, and we can talk about that and see what we can do. I am going to close the applications tomorrow at noon. Tomorrow? I got that wrong. The 20th? Yeah, I'm going to close it tomorrow at noon, the 19th. And I'll let everybody know. The schedule, I think, is still a little bit up in the air with the holidays coming up. If the holidays didn't exist, we'd probably start the tournament the week between Christmas and New Year's, because that's when playoffs are, or the third and final rounds of the playoffs. But I got to see when we're actually going to be playing. It's going to be sometime in the next 3 weeks or so. So stay tuned for that and keep looking out for that. So yeah, I do need maybe I'd take 2 or 3 more applications if anybody wants to, GM or co-GM for World Junior Championship. I do still need a simmer. I need to. I won't talk about it. Haven't reached out yet to our previous simmer. Hopefully he'll come back for us. But I would like to hire another simmer if possible, just so the load isn't all on one person for a whole week long, especially during the holiday time. That's going to be pretty difficult. And then if anyone wants to help me out in head office, get paid money to, oversee some things, then I'd appreciate that as well. And then staying on the international scene, Canada did step down from IIHF commissioner. So if you want to be that or do that, or if somebody, vacates a current position and fills the commissioner role, there might be other international roles open in the near future. So keep your eyes on job postings, because as you know, this league is driven by us, the users, and how we interact with the site and how we interact with our community. And make sure it sounds like some Russian motif, but make sure you're carrying your weight and putting your work in, because if people didn't volunteer their time and their effort, this site wouldn't exist. So thank you all for listening. I look forward to talking to you all next week. If you need anything between now and then, hit me up, Discord. And if you haven't watched the World Cup, go watch the replay right now. Okay. I'll see you all later. Bye.